Thank you everyone for your presentations and to participants for their questions. We'll now continue to our Café Talk discussion, Restore and Scale, where our speakers will be joined by our moderators to discuss a few topics that are important for all the projects and the projects that are participating in this event. To guide this discussion, I will hand over to our moderators, Ioannis Varvaris, which you met through the Nemesis presentation, and Francesca Senato from Mona Lisa Project. I will introduce Francesca shortly. Francesca is the head of the Integrated Monitoring and Analysis of Land Use, Territorial Transformation and Desertification Unit at ISPRA, and her work focuses on soil health, land degradation, ecosystem services, and policy development. So Francesca and Ioannis, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Maya. Thank you very much for all the effort today. And it's a pleasure to be here together with Ioannis to moderate this Café Talk. Let me introduce briefly what a Café Talk is for Mona Lisa Project. It's one part of the activities that we prepared under the community of knowledge activities within Mona Lisa project. It is devoted to let people participate, discuss in a more familiar way and also dynamic way on certain topics that we select each time. So stay connected with Mona Lisa website and subscribe the participation to the Mona Lisa community of knowledge to be involved in these Café Talks that are more than two in every year. And today we have a lot of questions for our projects ourselves, but the idea is try to grasp a little bit behind all the projects and the big effort that we saw in the presentation in the session before, and try to move forward the future, the possibility to use all the solutions, the end users vision and opportunities that comes from that projects. So if Ioannis, you want to tell something about this with an introduction, then I will go for a first question for all our speakers of the morning, and then we have prepared some specific questions for each of them, and we will do it in turn. Ioannis, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Senato. So basically, if I may also share my screen, so regarding this talk, as mentioned before, already from Dr. Senato, is about recognizing, respecting, and restoring, and about soil degradation, desertification. So very happy having here as well these 6 project representatives. That will be a dialogue across 6 Horizon Europe projects that sharing the same mission vision, but also matter about sharing potential impact about desertification, soil health and desertification, and land restoration. So we also share the same challenges as far as we have discussed before from the presentations. And the most important is likely that we said that the science exists, the solutions are being tested, but there is also a likely gap between knowledge and action. So we hope that this Café Talk will be a bit of supporting, bridging that gap between our impact, governance, financing, and trust. And I will give the floor back to Dr. Senato to continue with the questions. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Ioannis, for the overview. So this is the first question that is for all the projects, and I will ask to our colleagues to answer in turn. And the first question is related to the applicability of solutions. So all the project presented concrete solutions to improve soil health and face challenges. The question is about the uptake of potential end users. And we would like to hear by you, which is, in your view, the biggest obstacle preventing your solution to be applied or taken into consideration in the decision-making process? And based on your experience, what could help your solution to be alive and to go on in terms of adoption? So the question, if you want to answer in turn, the first one is for Cristina Domingo from Mona Lisa.
Hi, Francesca. Thank you. I think that maybe the first bottleneck that we face in the Mona Lisa project is that often the adoption of change by the land managers themselves, no? They are a little bit resistant to change, and this is not only because they are unwilling to innovate or because they don't want to test new things, but more because they are asked to take risks, in fact, no? Because they have their own system, they work their own way, they have their own machinery, whatever, and then to implement something new implies to change a lot these dynamics that they already have. And since they are a very let's say tight system, because they are not having a lot of benefits, unfortunately the agriculture is not like that, unless you are like a big company with lots of land. They are facing a challenge and an economic challenge, and this together with the climatic conditions that they are also facing, it is a too high risk, and it's difficult to convince them to try different things and to try to innovate. Another fact that also influenced that, it's the age. Unfortunately, in Spain at least, the age of the farmers it's quite high, and this type of community, let's say it's a little bit tired already of trying to do things, and they just only want to keep doing what they learn and that what it has been working till now. New generations are a little bit more open to this, and since they don't have like a big path on the work, they are more willing to take this type of risks. We have learned that only by demonstrating this ecological effectiveness is not enough with them, and that they need to see that the solution is feasible, that it's economically viable, that it's compatible with their own reality. And this is why co-design it has been key, to trust building with them, and then also to try to long-term support them, not only implementation and disappear, but being present.
Okay, really clear. Two main topics: economic challenges and age of farmers are two main problems. I reverse the same question to TerraSafe. I suppose that Jakob is answering, or Michael is answering.
Michael is better because they have a concrete solution.
Yes, you're welcome. What do you think about this obstacle and solutions? We can't hear you.
Now it's okay?
Now, yes.
No?
Now, yes. Thank you.
Sorry. It's several buttons that you have to press. Anyway, just to say that this is a very important question, and the reason is that all the stakeholders that we have been cooperating with, they are thrilled. They are they really want to keep their materials and transform them into something so valuable for them, which is the compost through co-composting. So they know that they cannot do it. The people that they have the manure, they cannot do it themselves. The people that they have the green waste, they cannot do it themselves. So bringing them all together seemed to be a very, very successful story for them, and they want to do it. However, this effort is actually hindered by the fragmented funding of the European Union. And this is very important because we go there and we say, integrated and social, technical, scientific, economical, all those things together. But when you search to find the right agronomic measure that would take all those things together and fund them, then you understand that it's silos, fragmented. And then you have to find one. It's not now, it's after 6 months. No, now it's this opening, this. So it's not like that. The European Union should allow, based on the results that we have from all these projects, to say, this will be the form that these people here would be willing to participate. So although we ask for the people to tell us how to proceed, the funding is not doing the same thing. So this is the first. The second is that we are not honest in European Union. We say about circular economy. However, amazingly so, if you go for funding, instead of refurbished or used machinery that can be used by the farmers, they want new, that it costs 500,000 or whatever. So at the end, you end up with something that costs 2 million for a compost facility instead of 150,000 euros. The problem is not, since they are funding this, go and take the new machinery. Why not? The maintenance is almost 5%. So for a small village that they just need their own machinery to transform them, to play with them and find solutions for local adaptation to the problem, instead of finding a solution through the funding, the funding demands that you go for new purchases and new things. So the tools that are within circular economy, and it calls about shared infrastructure, incentives to reverse logistics, to many, many things that already circular economy is telling us what to do, they are not fundable. And this is something that has to be stressed to the European Union, that we should come to the needs and the solution, and not to the program that we have in our minds as funding mechanisms.
It's
so
really
you
are raising two governance topics. One, the fragmentation between policies and the silos view of the CAP and the environmental policies. And the second is the not integration between policies. And this on waste management and on circular economy is one very big example on this. So also the governance side, to be honest, to end users is really relevant. Thank you very much. So
just one thing, sorry,
yes?
on that.
You're welcome.
Just a final note. Just what I said before about circular economy is very specific, but not the funding mechanisms to sustain and to initiate this thing. And just to say that, imagine that in one area, the people are actually gathering money as if they were going to build a church to do this project. So what I'm saying is that the willingness is there, the assistance is not there. And this is why I'm saying about sincerity and honesty on behalf of the funding mechanism and of the European Union. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you to you. And now some view from Afragro, Zampella.
So thank you, Francesca. I would like to begin, like the biggest obstacle is not lack of evidence, right? Agroforestry already has strong scientific backing, and like 71% of African countries explicitly propose as a solution in their nationally determined contributions. The gap is between what the science says and what a smallholder farmer in Senegal or Botswana actually does on Monday morning. That gap has several layers. First, solutions have not always been co-designed with local communities. Most of the times they arrive from the project without anchoring in cultural practices, local species knowledge, or women's decision-making roles. Second, digital tools assume connectivity and literacy that many communities do not yet have. Thirdly, the value chain rewards for sustainable management, carbon farming, biodiversity credits, market premiums are not yet reaching the farmer. And fourth, there is a critical measurement gap. Even where agroforestry is committed to in national policy, most countries lack the capacity to monitor, report, and verify what is actually happening on the ground, which makes it invincible to the funding mechanisms that could support it. So what Afrogro is doing to move the needle is building from the bottom up. Through our 6 living labs, we co-design with local communities from day one, identifying which plant and animal species fit their soil, their climate, and of course, their cultural context. We're integrating indigenous knowledge with scientific evidence rather than replacing one with the other. We're developing affordable toolbox and a crowdsourcing app built on the existing Regreening Africa platform. Already, this application, this platform is one of the United Nations 7 World Restoration flagships. So the tools are not new and unfamiliar, but extensions of what people already trust and use. We are creating spectral soil libraries and harmonized data frameworks that fit directly into EU Soil Observatory and AU databases, closing the monitoring gap. And we're connecting farmers to carbon farming business opportunities and traceability frameworks that translate good land management into real economic returns. Trust and uptake follow when communities see that the solution, was built with them, not from them. And when they can see it in their income, not just like in a scientific report or as just a KPI. Thank you.
Sorry, Francisca, we cannot hear you.
Oh, yes, sorry. Thank you, Zampella, very much for these comments about the gap between science policy on one side and practice on the other side. And also what we need is to use all the tools that the Commission financed in these years. And let me say that the same problem that Michael was raising about the use of old machineries and maintenance is the same with tools and platforms, because each project is funding a new platform, a new methodology. Maybe now it's time to start use what already exists and go on, but the funding mechanism should allow this. Because all the system needs to be funded. Thank you very much, Zampella, for having raised this part. Now is turn our lunch shift. Antoine, which is your point?
Yeah, I think what we see working with the living spaces in Landschaft is that, as some of the speakers have said, the lack of solution is not really the problem, right? For us, it's really fragmented decision making. So we are, whenever we want to deploy a nature-based solution at landscape level, we are crossing so many administrative boundaries and public and private boundaries, because we need a sense of scale for nature-based solutions to be truly effective and truly change the outcome of the land use system. And therefore we have different, public organism have a specific authority on the forest and on the river and on the waste management. And there's regional, there's municipal, there's provincial, there's national, there's EU level even. And that creates a lot of unclarity about long-term planning, because all of those organisms, let's say, have different time horizon. And it creates a lot of confusion, especially from farmers, landowner, local people, local communities, because they can't see the red line through time. It changes through whatever cycle those different organisms are in. And that's really a difficult point, to have a long-term vision and to stick to that vision over the long term. I think that's one of the main challenges that not only landscape faces and nature-based solution faces, but long-term planning face in general. Now in landscape, what we're trying to do is make sure that we have all the people gathered around the table through community labs, through policy labs, to really understand what are the objectives of those different stakeholder groups. And we try to provide some tools where people can objectively stare at trade-off. So trade-off analysis framework, spatial analysis that tells us, okay, in 2050, your land will be impacted this way and this way. And you can do this activity and solution, and that will be the positive or negative outcome. And so we have a very honest discussion about who is going to be impacted by that plan. But to showcase a longer term horizon, it really allows people to feel ownership to this, and then say, okay, this is the plan we will stick to. And even if politically it changes, because there is already let's say it's really rooted in communities, it might withstand political change and keep going, let's say, in the plan that they decided upon.
That's really interesting. Speaking about timing, I remember even in the discussion of the soil monitoring law, the alignment to the 6-year time as compared to the water framework directive was discussed. And it's obvious that we have to try to push all this mechanism to run together. So having too many different timing and frameworks and levels is make it impossible to understand where we are going, and also to measure the success and unsuccesses that maybe sometime is what the politics want. But okay, that's thank you very much, Antoine, for lunch shift, and Ioannis, you as moderator, you're all answering for a really interesting project Nemesis to this question. What are you telling us?
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Asanato. So basically, I will come and agree with most of the already responders. So our biggest obstacle in our case as well is about fragmentation. And if I may add as well that the issue is that it operates at every level, meaning that, for example, in the case of farmers, they lack access to solutions that maybe have already been tested somewhere else, but not specifically for their context. Or in the case that as well, Mr. Loizidis mentioned before, that we have that desertification particularly is referenced across multiple policy frameworks, like in Directive of Soil Monitoring and Resilience, in Common Agricultural Policy. But the issue is that we don't have a dedicated policy framework, particularly for desertification, for combat desertification. Something else about that the European Court of Auditors, what was also mentioned by their side, is likely that they document that the member states have limited use of cost-benefit analysis for desertification projects that put into risk their long-term impact assessment. So we have the solutions already been in the experimental sites, but we think that we are missing a shared architecture to connect them and have them their long-term sustainability. So in our case, having the 5 autonomous living labs that will be across the likely Cyprus, France, Italy, Spain, Algeria, and Tunisia. So we are incorporating the aspect of co-ecological creating. So we're going just trying as well to move a bit forward, having this co-ecological creating governance model that will be having as well the monitoring frameworks, the multi-actor platforms, and having direct incorporation of the stakeholders' feedback to the policy and decision-making arenas. So what in our experience is mostly something that could be move the needle is the ownership, meaning we need to bring the land manager to be part of the development of solution. We need to have the policymaker to be part of a policy decision making. So we need to have this co-governance that will be found that after the project end, and we'll have this co-shaping of evidence. So then to achieve this long-term sustainability.
Thank you very much, Ioannis. This participation, co-decision at a local level, participation of land managers in decision is really crucial, and it's not foreseen anywhere in the directive. Is left to member states to try to find a way to this, and also in the integration between different policies, because more or less land managers are not involved even in this CAP process, definition process. So it's all top down, and that's the problem for long-term sustainability, of course. And I would ask Giancarlo Renella for Earth One, last vision about this first question.
Thanks very much, Francesca. Myself also, I agree with most of the responders. Very, very quickly, in our project was funded under the climate action. So most of the workshops, let's say collaborative, co-creative workshops that we had were based on this aspect. And what the main feedbacks were, first, why should farmers pay for the climate mitigation if they're responsible only for 10% of the impact, of the global impact? This means a lot. This means that farmers now are informed, farmers are willing to collaborate, to participate in these mitigation actions, but they don't want to be fooled. So, I mean, they want to be supported, not just by subsidies, but by more general policies, which is extremely complicated. Yeah, the second one deals again with the technical and cultural, let's say, heritage that we have in our agricultural systems. Now we are proposing in our project solutions which were discarded a century ago. I mean, they were abandoned 1 century ago. You know, more complex systems rather than more specific and specialized systems. So the question now, who should support this kind of a transition? Farmers? This was the question that we still have to answer. Then just very brief comments on timing. I mean, we have seen that you were also, Francesca, mentioning the 6 years, you know, scanning, monitoring time decided at the European Commission level. But we have seen in our agroforestry systems that the soil recovery is very slow. In 20 years, you may have no significant changes. So how to explain this to farmers? This is one of the open questions that we have in a project. And again, we have to deal with climate mitigation, but there's still a lot of open questions.
Thank you.
Answers.
Thank you very much, Giancarlo. Of course, this who pays for it is a very big question, and even the payments for existing services mechanism somebody have been recalled is not sufficient. because it's a system that have to take the honor and the duty to reform our productive system, our land planning system too, because to involve all the parts in the decisions. It's not easy. It's a complex system, but pointing out that somebody have to pay for it, and maybe the member state have to give an answer with appropriate funding mechanisms in projects and in subsidies and providing help to operators. This was the final, the last answer to this very important first question to all of you. And now we have some very small
Francesca?
questions. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. I would just like to, before you continue with the specific question, I would like to ask all the participants if you can provide us with your feedback in this little questionnaire. It has only 3 questions, and the link is shared with you in the chat. So please fill it out.
Thank you very much, Maya. Yes, we see it. We will go for the questionnaire. Okay.
Doesn't work because you need the extra H at the beginning of the. Thank you.
Sorry. There it is. New one.
Perfect. No problem.
Okay. Should we?
So speakers, you continue. You just continue. You can fill it out when I give the closing. And please, for the participants, while you listen, it's only 3 questions, and it will help us with your feedback.
Okay, so now it's Ioannis, if you want to help me to present the questions to the project.
Yes, basically, thank you very much, Dr. Asenado. So I think now, after this consolidated wrap-up with all the great answers as well from our project participants, so now we will proceed to the second part, that's a dedicated question to each of the projects that is more a bit of oriented to the activities that your projects are working on. So we'll proceed, and likely we have will be one question for in the beginning for Mona Lisa, Terra Safe Nemes, Aftergrow, Landshift, and Earthphone. And if I may start, it will be the first question will be for Dr. Domingo for Mona Lisa. So if I may say, based on your presentation as well, that Mona Lisa brings a rich palette of solutions that will be about degraded systems. But if I may also ask how the project support, maybe already or will support the end users for identifying the solutions that fits their local context or matching the different solutions to the context of the project, and about achieving these resilient land systems that we need as we are already identified. Thank you.
Thank you, Ioannis. Well, in our case, the approach that has allowed us to be able to identify what the end user needs is to work with the end user. So the value of the co-design. No? So end users are not just simply recipients of the solutions that we can design or we can think from the scientific side, but they are active partners that identify the problems, because they obviously know which problems they face, and then we work together to try to prioritize these problems and to try to find the solutions and assess the trade-offs and adapt interventions to their local realities that they also face. No? This increases the likelihood that the restoration measures that we propose will be maintained over time, because it's not just only a thing that somebody does in a field and then we disappear and then they are not familiar with what we have been suggesting, but they are part of the solution. And then we hope that this will also deliver benefits in the future. And another thing that we discuss with them is that there is not only a single individual solution that supports them, but it's more a combination of nature-based approaches with the appropriate management practices. Maybe sometimes they are already applying something, but not in the right way. So we discuss different ways to try to manage the solution in order that it has more impact, no, in their problems. And then something that you already mentioned, all the colleagues here, that it's the long-term governance mechanism. No? Sometimes it's difficult, and this has to be also considered together with the ecological, with the social part, and try to facilitate things, because the problem here, the key, the challenge is that we need as local solutions as possible, but also as wide as possible. No, so as local as needed, as wide as possible solutions, and this is when things start to be complicated. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you very much. I think maybe for the next will be for Dr. Asanato regarding the next question, maybe for TerraSafe.
Yes, Yanis. The next question is for Michael. You are facing 5 very different contexts in the TerraSafe case studies and application. And how do you ensure that what you prepare in one pilot area can inform the others? So the cross-pilot learning process, and how what you are preparing will help other dryland systems.
Could I ask Jakob to intervene on that? If not, I will answer. But maybe Jakob, Adriana is here as well, because I'm only working on the one system now. Just a few sentences. The conditions are not the same anywhere. The idea of bringing people together, I'm talking about the co-composting symbiotic system that we propose. It seems that the problem of segregation is everywhere. So the moment that we have tried this in Tunisia, apart from Cyprus, it was a very successful approach. So we know that the moment that the government is not doing its job properly, and unfortunately it's everywhere the same, then you have to intervene. And it's the same for Greece. I know that because I'm operating there. So for the others, because there are 5 innovations that have been, let's say, checked, maybe Adriana or Jakob can say a few words about the others.
Okay.
Jakob, Adriana? No?
I can't see them.
Okay. Anyway, just to finalize, because we have tried in Cyprus all 5 of them, it seems that yes, you're absolutely right that for, let's say, I will give you an example which is very, very, very easy to think. In several areas in Cyprus, we have alkaline soils. So putting certain additions that will increase the pH is not good for the soil. We know. So the moment that we have the substrate that we're going to use. Sorry?
Però devi asciugare.
Okay, somebody have the microphone open? Please close it.
So there are technical issues that we have to take into consideration for most of the substrates that are being produced within the TerraSafe project. That's true. But there are systems like the one that I proposed before that I haven't seen any place that it's working in the southern parts of European Union. In Germany, let's say, there are many composting places. The Greens have the right percentage and a ratio of carbon to nitrogen. And so, yes, you're absolutely right that in certain areas you have to take into consideration the local conditions before you decide as per the acceptance of a certain substrate and a certain scheme.
Thank
Adriana, do you want to say anything on that?
Yeah, actually, I would like to comment on the policy aspect, but because in all these projects we are always doing policy analysis too and see where can we make recommendations, what recommendations can we make, how can we have a policy impact, and I think for this, community-based composting solution, I think it's very important that the government support also shared facilities and shared equipment, but so that they will subsidize this too. And I think in Cyprus already they are subsidizing shredders, but I think this is important where we also have a practical, policy recommendation. But for government to support shared facilities, shared equipment for shared composting, community-based composting.
Thank you, Adriana. Also to you, thank you, Michael. And time is running, so maybe we can go directly, Ioannis, to the other question for AgroGrow.
Yes, thank you very much. So basically, yes, the next question will be likely for Zambella about the AfroGrow. So we have seen that there's common challenges and needs, even if the AfroGrow is across African Union. So about then, how is the project ensuring that the data collection and the knowledge that you are generating in your living labs are meaningful for diverse national context? Because you mentioned you are across 6 countries that you have the living labs.
So thank you so much, Ioannis, for that question, because this is one of the most concrete methodological challenges AfroGrow faces. And we have approached it by design rather than leaving it to chance, building robustness at the technical level and meaningfulness at the community level at the same time. The 6 living labs span 6 countries, covering radically different agroecological zones, from arid desert conditions in Botswana, for example, to subhumid tropical savanna in Côte d'Ivoire. What makes data meaningful across this context is not the uniformity, its harmonization with local relevance preserved. AfroGrow establishes a harmonized monitoring framework from the outset. For instance, eCraft develops soil spectral libraries at each living lab, while across all living labs, the LDSF I presented before is applied. A crowdsourcing application integrated into the existing Green Africa app platform enables farmers and local communities to contribute ground-level observations that fit directly into the shared data system. All data is stored in an open access AfroGrow virtual space, fair, compliant, and interoperable with global systems. But technical robustness is only half the answer, right? What makes knowledge generation genuinely meaningful in each context is that it is shaped by the people who will use it. Each living lab is anchored in its own multi-actor platform, co-designed around the specific system problems and needs of that community, not generic project deliverables. Primary users are smallholder farmers, pastoralists, women, and youth producer groups, and the co-creation process explicitly maps their engagement and feedback loops into the knowledge generation cycle. Critically, the AfroGrow project also addresses the structural conditions that determine whether knowledge actually travels into practice. Each living lab integrates a context-specific governance dimension, accounting for coordination mechanisms that shape what solutions are viable and for whom. The gender, youth, and inequality architecture is not a side component. It is embedded in how data is collected, who is asked, whose knowledge counts, and how benefits are distributed. And okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Isabella. That's because I will have to proceed and make sure that everyone. So thank you very, very much. So I don't know if Francesca, you'd like to.
Yes. The next one is for land shift and about nature-based solutions, as we heard, and practical tools to support the transition of the systems. The question is, how is your project ensuring that these resources are integrated into the land use planning decisions? You were mentioning this before. And at what stage of the planning cycle your tools enter into the playground? Thank you.
Thanks for the question. So I'll start with the second question because I think it's an important part of the library. So the library is really designed around to be used at the very initial stage of designing their let's say their land use strategy or their project for a landscape redevelopment project, let's say, because essentially it's providing a decision maker and let's say the stakeholder involved in such decision making process to say, this is examples of real world actual running projects that are tackling similar issues that you have on your land, or it's a project that has extremely similar ecosystem type, which you can apply for. So it enables them maybe to reach out to those partners, to those initiatives, so that they can get to quickly understand the challenges up ahead, the lesson learned, and so on and so forth. Maybe funding opportunities, collaboration opportunities. So it's really at that stage that it's important to say, okay, what is available? What has been proven successful in the past? What challenges did they solve? Ultimately, the library is not just, let's say, a repository of case study. It's really meant for, and we can see it's for only 1.5 years old, so it will grow in the future. But we can hope that it will become more a planning tool where stakeholder can reach out to one another as well, and be in contact and add new case study to the library content, so that it becomes very much a living document where planners really can interact as a community of planners across Europe on deployment of nature-based solution.
Thank you very much, Antoine. So initial stage of land use planning, we will have to suggest to the planning communities that not always look at soil as a matter of their interest. Really look at your library and start thinking about soil also. Thank you very much. Next question is for Nemesis. Ioannis, is for you, and it's about the shared responsibility. Actors involved in the decision making and in the restoration of soil have, of course, a long-term vision to take into account. And so who does what and how we can provide a shared responsibility between those actors, and how is your project dealing with this? This is the question.
So I apologize in advance. So just to make it in time, I will put second year now in the reply. So regarding the main aspect will be mainly about the co-governance aspect, meaning that we need to have the stakeholders to be engaged from the beginning of before designing a solution, that this will mean as well integrate the aspects of the living labs principles, meaning that we need to have this co-creation, but not only, meaning we need to have the co-ownership that needs to be integrated across all the different steps before only about the implementation, but also regarding the post-project sustainability of a solution that will be provided. So importantly, this about the shared cornership, meaning as well sharing the benefits of the solutions that will be tested and implemented. Finally, to not only just as well information from our colleagues is not only about implementing and testing, but rather as well setting up the foundation for being potentially adopted in regards as well to the costs and the benefits that the solution will have. So, I mean, probably one of the main and the main priorities, not only about the living labs that we have in the NEMIS, or maybe as well in the Lancy project I heard about living spaces or the AfroGrow, but I think for all the projects, it's likely that, okay, we are testing, we are making the impact monitoring, but the most important will be the co-ownership and how we can make sure that at the end of the project lifetime, the stakeholders and the local communities actually adopt the solutions and implement them. So if I may just proceed as well, Dr. Asenado, to the last question. So I think we have heard as well from the Earth One that, and we have seen as well some already very interesting and impressive results about how the agroforestry and the potential of agroforestry and the meaningful ecosystem services that can be provided. So is that economic dimension that the barrier to wider uptake of the agroforestry, or maybe as well, based on your experience on Earth One, is that any other factors, market access or policy integration that are equally or more decisive barriers for the agroforestry?
Yeah, thanks, Yanis. To keep it short, yes, this was the outcome from the co-creative workshops. I mean, there is a need for public support for really to start this transition, but not only public, because I mean, ecosystem services should be also recognized by the private sector. This was not an important outcome. How we don't know, but I mean we are on a market, so I mean the solutions could be really of a broader interest than only of a public interest. But there is a second aspect which is also strictly related to agriculture, which is the supply chain. As agricultural systems get more complex, you need to have to really change like in a domino several other actors. I mean, if you think of, for example, more complex solutions like agro-silvo-pastoral systems in Italy or in Europe in general, this means that you need to modify the local supply chain, the local market, I mean, to give let's say, an outlet to your products. So you see that there is a lot of feedback interactions between different sectors. So farmers, or in general, let's say the farmers and foresters are only one of the actors, maybe not the main actors. That's the outcome from, at the moment, from Earth One.
Thank you, Giancarlo. Also, by my side, this topic of the private sector interests to be understood and taken into account. It's a part of the activity under the carbon farming initiative, under the ecosystem services, payment for ecosystem services. They are all initiatives to try to capture this, the interest of private sector is not easy without a very strong and proper effort by the public, of course, and also with clear tools, because you can't have so fragmented initiatives in some territory and not in the other, so you're not sure you can be paid for these services whether if there is a political change, all the system change, and it's not possible for an economic operator to make a decision in this kind of system. So we have to understand. Let me say that all these answers were really rich of indication for future deepening of our research in common, and for also the long-term life of our effort in any direction we mentioned today. So let me thank all of you by my side, and asking to stay connected, stay tuned between projects, let our case studies areas speak to each other, and continue to organize initiative like this one, also in the territory, and stay tuned with the community of knowledge. We will try to share all the information you want to give to this community about your areas, your projects. In particular, I refer to the open call for Nemesis and of any questionnaire initiative, because it's meant as a community to work together. It's not part only of Mona Lisa project. We started it, but it's a common property. So please participate and tell us about other initiatives. We will be glad to participate too. That's all by my side. We are perfectly in time. So
thank you, everyone. I will take over for a closing a little bit. Thank you, everyone. It was really interesting presentations, and very good answers and questions in this discussion. We have 1 to 2 questions in the chat, but we will not be answering them live. We will send out, as I said, we will incorporate a Q&A document that we will circulate it with the participants and people that registered. Also, a few key points after the meeting. The meeting is recorded. It will be shared with all the participants, and we will send out a few informations regarding the post event things. And on behalf of myself and all in the cluster, Mission Soil Cluster, thank you everyone for joining, for the participants, and also our speakers and moderators. You are fantastic. And thank you for all the insights and work that you do. Thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your day, and goodbye till next time.